Who were you before you lost your wild self?
That's what we're helping you explore on the Tend Her Wild podcast.
Through questions and tools around how best to listen to your inner voice,
rewild ourselves, and live the most authentic life where we thrive instead of survive.
I'm Betsy.
And I'm Kate.
And we're so glad you've joined us for this episode. Hello, Tend Her Wild podcast listeners. It's Kate and I today talking about healing your inner child. What does it even mean? Is it possible? Is it worth our time and effort? So
it's going to be a great conversation. I'm really excited about this one. We've talked about this for a while.
Yeah. I think we touch into it in many episodes.
We do, without exactly defining.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about, I do think that it can feel a little awkward, or it can feel like, why in the heck do I need to go back and deal with my 7-year-old? I am 51 now. I can't go back and change any of it. Can we just move on, people?
Right.
And yet I think what we both have learned through our own healing process, there's great benefit to acknowledging and revisiting your inner child. And I would say it's not a one-time deal. It's sort of a process that we keep coming back to over and over.
Yeah.
So,
and what I've found through myself and even working with clients is oftentimes our inner child is very much present.
Yes.
And we may think, oh, I don't want to go back there, but she's actually sitting here right now. So
she is driving the car right now. So
escape that. So
exactly.
It is something that's worth checking out.
Yeah. So if you think it's a little ridiculous to go back and revisit it, I encourage you to stay with it, because I think we're going to talk about some things that may relate. So the other thing that I think is tricky, and I've seen this definitely in my private practice, is that a lot of people will be like, well, A, I don't remember much from my childhood. Or B, I feel like I had a pretty good childhood, like there wasn't really anything bad that happened. And yet I would bring the argument forward that all of us have some wounded inner child. And it doesn't mean we've had to have had a major trauma as a child, but, we were most likely raised by two people who had stuff that they hadn't completely worked through. And as children, we weren't maybe met in all the ways that we needed to. And so we all coped with that. And yet those patterns show up now, primarily in our relationships.
Yes.
But, so it's good to understand maybe what evolved. And even if you don't remember specifics, there are techniques and tools, and we're going to do one later today, that can help you sort of make contact and maybe have some new memories come forward. So,
yes. So let's start with this. We all obviously have an inner child because we've all had a childhood.
Yes.
We come into the world and we're dependent on others.
Yeah.
And we are experiencing things for the first time, and we are learning about ourselves and growing. And like you said, there may not be major traumas, but there's also the little T's, right? The experiences that have an impact on us. And so what are kind of maybe some signs that your wounds might be showing up?
Yeah. It's a really good question. Well, I would say that one of the things that wounds our inner childhood, before we get to those signs, is that it's really all about feelings. And every child shows anger and frustration, outburst.
Yeah.
And also shows sadness and crying and weeping, and also shows joy and laughing. And I mean, even babies laugh and giggle.
Yes.
And yet, without a doubt, there was at some point in our childhood where we were told, quit crying.
Quit crying and maybe don't laugh so loud.
Yeah, you're being too loud. Or young man, you're talking back too much. Go to your room. So we were all taught to sort of repress and push down our feelings, which are
Mhm.
actually all really normal, energetic experiences and responses. So, because of that sort of pushing down of emotions, um, we start to split off parts of our
Yeah.
natural, I would call it our really natural, healthy child that, you know,
Felt free to emote and
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So you asked, like, what are some of the signs that your inner child might be driving the car?
Mhm.
Angry outburst, sort of like those temper tantrums maybe
Yeah.
you had when you were 3. You're still tantruming at the driver who cut you off, or the boss who didn't listen to your response, or the partner who ignored your needs. There's an outburst of anger.
That sometimes can it be out of, um, proportion to maybe even what happened?
Always, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I would say any emotional response, whether it's weeping, excessive laughter, or even excessive anger, these tantrums we've been talking about, anything that feels like out of proportion to the situation at hand is often a big sign that your inner child is sort of shown up.
Okay.
Yeah. I would also say when we struggle with boundaries
Mm.
or we let other people dictate how we feel, those codependent behaviors, those are all signs that maybe our inner child is running things. And also a high need for control.
Mm. Oh boy. That's a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Talk about that because when we're children, we aren't really in control of much.
Right.
And so does that show up later because of that? Because back then we didn't have control and so then the rest of our life we're trying to
Bingo.
yeah.
Bad things happen. I was a kid. I couldn't control that. My mom and dad divorced. I couldn't control that. A parent got sick or lost a job, or I couldn't control my parents drinking. And so as an adult, if I keep everything structured and in line
Mm.
and cross all my T's and dot all my I's and make sure everything is correct and perfect, then bad things won't happen. I
Yep.
mean, it's a very childlike
Right, trying to
vantage
keep
point.
yourself safe,
Yeah.
like you might as a child.
And I think the thing we have to remember about children is that children are inherently egocentric. So
Mm.
anything bad that happens as a child, you believe it's because of something you did or did not do. And so children sort of they're not mature enough to really be able to put themselves in other people's shoes.
Okay.
So something happens, something goes down that it had nothing to do with that child. They're going to make up stories that sort of make them believe, well, it's because I thought those bad thoughts, and that's why this bad thing happened.
Okay. So we do that even sometimes as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
we
when we talk
can.
about like the stories in our head and how we show up as adults uh, in ways that we do try to control, which is often so much happens so much to women. I feel like
Mm,
kind of the need to control.
mhm.
Um, you're making me think perhaps it's happening with men too.
It absolutely is.
We just don't we
Yeah.
don't have that
Yeah.
experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
humans in general that there's a
Yeah.
need to control.
And also think about, as an adult now, how many ways you have to cope with challenging life situations, right? There's so many
Mm,
options we have, whether those coping techniques are healthy or unhealthy. There are lots of ways we can cope with stress as adults, but as kids, we're all limited in terms of how we
right,
cope. A, we don't know how to cope yet.
right.
B, we're quite vulnerable. We're feeling everything. We're not in control of our environment. And so we are much more at the mercy of what's going on around us. And so the long-term goal of working with our inner child is healing that part of self that didn't know how to cope, didn't know how to deal,
Mm,
didn't know how to get through the situation at hand. And so inner child work allows us to go back and almost reparent or sort of guide ourselves
yeah.
to feeling more secure or feeling more taken care of. So the goal is to take care of ourselves and to take care of that inner child. And we as adults can do that now. in
Right.
ways that we couldn't do it when we were a kid.
Right. I'd like to know your thoughts on this. I always talk about it like you said, like our inner child can be driving the vehicle
Yeah.
a lot, and being able to reparent and say, you don't need to drive. I
Yeah.
got this.
Yeah.
You can be in the back seat. You're still part of me.
I'm not asking you to leave.
I'm
Yeah.
not
I'm
kicking
not
you out of the
kicking.
car,
Yes. Yes.
but you don't need to drive anymore.
Yeah.
And that analogy for me has been helpful for myself, and then also talking with others that are working through that, because um, we do have those parts of ourselves that we don't want to leave, but then we have, when we do go back and do that healing work, we have so much more compassion
Yeah.
for ourselves, which self-compassion is another thing I think that's hard for us.
Yeah.
And so this work also allows that to come forward, just being compassionate about, what our childhood was like and how we did have to deal with things we probably shouldn't have, and acknowledging those things, and yet not making our younger self
Feel guilty.
feel bad about it and shame.
Yeah. What 7-year-old should know how to take care of their 2-year-old brother because their mom is in a depressive episode and
Right.
can't get off the couch? I mean, so you're right, bringing that self-compassion and that self-understanding. And then as an adult, going back and saying to your inner 7-year-old, hey, sweetie, this wasn't your job. I got you.
Yeah.
I'm mature. I'm going to take care of you. This stuff, as silly as it seems, is sort of role playing with your own inner child. It makes huge impact in terms of how you're functioning on a day-to-day basis. When you start to be able to identify the wounded parts of you as a child, these inner child parts, and then bringing them compassion and teaching them that we've got this. I got you. I'm not going to leave you behind. I can take care of this. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I got your back.
And that's that emotional maturity and being able to
Yeah.
see the pattern. And
Yeah. So I would say anytime we're highly triggered, it's a real
yes,
sign that there's a part of us from our childhood that's coming
wounded.
back online and is wounded. And I would say, you know, close relationships are the
Yes.
times where we really can start to see the traumas of our childhood come forward. Our romantic partners are definitely going to activate
Yeah. Or the traumas of
our
our
wounds.
partners and wounds come
Yes.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are the real crucibles, I think, for us to really identify, in these close relationships where attachment is a big thing. It kind of can show us where,
The mirror.
where
Right.
there might have been wounding.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it helps relationships too to do this work. Tremendously.
absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, it's going to help your relationship to self. But I think when we get healthy in ourself, then we show up healthier for all of our relationships. But I do think that, gosh, our relationships are some of the key times to really be able to see, why am I getting so triggered by this person, by their response, by their lack of response?
Yeah.
What's going on that from my past, from my childhood, that is showing up again?
Yeah. That's great advice. So you told me there are 7 archetypes.
Yeah, there's probably more, but I like this category of these 7 inner child archetypes. And this is from Dr. Nicole Perla,
Mm-hmm.
who's got some really great work out there. And she identified these 7. And really, the idea of archetypes goes back to Jung. But I think these 7 really kind of cover some of our wounded inner child archetypes.
Yeah.
And so
And we've
let's
talked about the wild woman archetype.
yeah.
So this would be your inner child
Exactly.
archetypes.
Bingo. So let's talk these through. You want to say that first one?
Caretaker.
Yeah.
Which resonates with me as the eldest daughter.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're taught that by neglecting your own needs and tending to other people, you will receive the love that you need.
Yes.
So that was a check off. Check the box for Kate.
Check. Yeah.
The next inner child archetype, which I think both of us can relate to, is the overachiever.
Yeah.
And this is where if I am successful and I'm doing well, then I'll receive love. So it's through my performance that my parents see me and give me attention.
Yeah. The people pleasing begins very young, and seeing what achievements bring the most
Mhm.
pleasure to the adults
Yeah.
around us,
Yeah.
how they respond and what is looking for that external validation, I
Yeah.
think, as a child too. Definitely the overachiever.
Well, and it's interesting because I think it's such a natural thing. Both of us have kids that when your kids do great things at school, you
Mhm.
praise them for what they do. And I always remember when I was in the midst of my own inner child work, really learning that one of the key things for us is to praise who our
Who they
children
are.
are
Yes.
instead of what they do. And I'm actually just thinking of this right now. My eldest son is going off on a golf tournament, and I just sent him a text, interestingly enough, this morning, and I said to him, "I am proud of you for you know your hard work ethic and your determination and your golf skills and all the things you do, but that's not why I love you. I love you because I
Mhm.
think you're a really good human with a good heart. And so I want you to remember I love you for who you are and not for what you do." And I got back a text, "Thanks, mom." but but I think this is how we can help our children not
Right.
really
Feel it.
believe that it's my achievements that my parents are proud of versus our kids' presence, who they are,
Right.
that we really love.
And at the essence, we all just really want to be seen, right?
Yeah.
As humans.
Yeah.
And so being seen by your parents truly for who you are versus what you do, I think getting that early as a child gives you also more confidence in who you are and that you're enough.
Yeah.
You're enough.
Yeah.
And that all the other things kind of gravy. But
Yeah.
so I love that you have that example. Makes me,
Well, it's funny. It just happened this morning. But I also want to help anyone who's listening out there who's like, oh, shit, my kids are grown. And I just kept
yeah,
telling them I was so proud of their straight A's, is that we're all works in progress.
right.
And so that's why we all have a wounded inner child. We might have had the most well meaning parents, but they still didn't meet us exactly how we needed to. And I say this all the time. I have 3 children. I know that I've screwed them
Oh,
up
yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
and that they're going to have to do repair. And this is the key. It doesn't matter how old our children are. Repair is always possible.
Right.
So as we keep evolving and growing and realizing like, oh man, gosh, I wish I would have done that differently as
Yeah.
a parent. We can always go back and attempt repair with our children, even if they're 45.
Yes.
So,
And that's how generations heal, right? When we have those open conversations, when we have realizations or we recognize patterns that we can go back and repair, that only helps the next generation,
yeah,
down the line.
yeah.
So,
The third inner child archetype is the
underachiever.
yeah.
Is that for attention? Do you
Well,
think
I think
negative
it's
attention
that
is for attention?
it could be negative attention, but I think this archetype is often the kid who realizes that if they stay small and unseen, if they kind of fly under the radar, then they won't get the same shame or the same uh, vitriol or the same negativity of parents. So it's like safety for them comes from being unnoticed.
Mm, not being
And I
seen.
would say, like, a good example of this, if there's a household that is quite violent, or maybe a parent who is dealing with substance abuse, and it was far safer to stay quiet
Mhm.
with the door closed in the room than to provoke dad or to provoke mom. And so, again, all of these archetypes, these wounded childs, come as a form of self protection. We're
Right.
trying to protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe and alive. And so I would say the underachiever was probably came from a place of needing to
Safety.
be safe. But then, of course, it can move through the rest of our lives
Right.
of staying small and not really
Keeping us.
stepping into our full gifts.
Yeah. I actually really like the next one. maybe it's because I identify at some level, but life of the party.
Ah, the life of the party. Yeah. We know these people. I was married to one of these people, right? Um, just
Yeah,
cheerful, happy, funny all the time,
always on.
always on, but always showing this side of everything's great versus allowing any vulnerability or pain to be seen. So, I mean, these people learned that if I'm just happy and fun and laughing all the time, I'll be safe. And that's how people will love me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And isn't it funny how we're so wise as children to keep ourselves safe and to develop sort of these coping techniques? And they work for a period of time.
They
Like being the
do.
achiever works, being the funny one works, being the caretaker works until there comes a point in life where it's like it's taking something from us.
Yeah,
Like we
and that
can't really be seen because we have this wall up.
yeah, that feels like the kind of the midlife awakening that happens for so many people
Yeah,
too, when suddenly you can't keep up the facade
exactly.
anymore.
Exactly.
And I think we all have that reckoning at some point. Sometimes it's because something happens, sometimes it's midlife, but I agree. It's interesting that we can carry this protection with us for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another one is the rescuer.
Yeah.
So if I can just show up and take care of other people's problems,
Mhm.
then I'll be safe. And again, you can imagine that if we had parents who were really challenged, that sweet little kid who was like, I'll help mom, I'll set the table, mom, I'll protect you, mom. It's like again, if we're caring for other people and
Yeah.
taking care of other people's needs, then we'll be safe. So the rescuer feels very similar to the caretaker for
Yeah.
me, just
Yeah.
slightly
I
different
was I was
variations.
thinking that too.
Yeah. And then we have
The
the
yes
yes person.
person always says yes
Mhm. Again,
out of
self-sacrifice.
yeah. This is reminds me of kind of the human giver where we're
Hmm.
just continually giving, giving,
Yep.
giving.
I relate to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I can just be more selfless and I'll just neglect my needs. My needs aren't that important. I'm always going to put other people's needs first. And again, it's a protective way as a kid to make sure you're okay. But
Mhm. There's
there
a
comes a
cost.
point where there's a major cost. Yeah,
There's a
for me, it was
cost.
my health for sure to be the yes
Yeah.
person.
Which they are a lot of research says that now, right? With
Yep.
autoimmune and things with women that
Yep.
it builds and builds.
Yep. Being the martyr, being the
Mhm.
self sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the hero worshiper.
Yeah. This last one, the hero worshiper. So this is interesting. I think this happens when children look to one of their parents as their superhuman. They have no faults. They've got it all figured out. They've got it all worked out. So if I just model myself and sort of worship my parent, I'll be safe.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot about how difficult it must be for a lot of children who have extremely famous parents
Oh, yeah.
who are already being these parents are already on a pedestal by the culture, or your father's the president, or
Right.
how that really impacts their sense of self. So the hero worshiper inner child is always looking to someone else to follow, like
Mm.
someone else.
To worship.
Yeah, someone else knows the answers. I can't really trust myself. I'm just going to look to this other person to guide me.
Yeah. It's really helpful to look at this from that context because I think I know I identify with several of these. And when they show up for me now, I'm going to be a little more astute, I think, in
Hmm.
recognizing maybe where those patterns still show up because I think
Yeah.
we keep doing the work, but it's hard to break.
Yeah, and I would say, this is probably not gonna be something that people like to hear, but I would say the patterning that comes out of our childhood doesn't go away.
Yeah.
We don't get to erase it.
It's part of us.
You're always going to be the caretaker, Kate. I'm probably always going to be the yes person. We're both going to be the overachievers. Um, so we don't get to erase these patterns, but we start to be able to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And we start to see when they're limiting us, and we can begin to make other choices that get stronger or louder than these. But I think that we all, this wounded child is going to stay with us always, which is why having a relationship to this wounded child and having conversations with her or him are probably going to go on indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of conversations with my little girl. My hand goes onto my heart. My little girl often feels like she's doing something wrong. So she shows up like, am I being bad? Am I doing something wrong here? And me as the adult, 51-year-old mature Betsy has to put my hand on my heart and say, sweetie, you're not doing anything wrong. Yeah. It's okay. You're allowed to do this. It's not a problem. I got you. It's safe. So, and I talk in that very nurturing, kind voice to her, like, I got you, sweetie.
Yeah.
Nothing bad is going to happen here. You're not doing anything wrong. I think my little girl was like, I've got to follow the rules. Like, I can't get out of the rules at all, or it's super unsafe. I've got to toe the line all the time. But as adults, the rules get really gray.
Yeah, and the rules are not,
yeah,
some of them should not exist and actually don't exist, but we create them.
Having these conversations with your inner child and I can feel my nervous system start to get amped up. And then I'll be like, oh, my little girl is super scared right now. All right, I need to go in. Okay, sweet girl. Yeah. And sometimes as a kid, my name for myself was Annie Brown Cow.
Really?
Because my legal name is Anne. And so sometimes they would call me Annie Brown Cow, or I would call myself Annie. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, sweet Annie Brown Cow, you're okay.
Really?
You're safe. Yeah. So having these conversations, reparenting my little girl has been truly transformative.
I think for the caretaker, for me, I think about how when I see myself kind of surveying still, what do people need in my orbit? What do they need? And I'm being able to, as probably a rescuer now that I think about it, right? Like how do I help fix that or problem solve that for the people that I love, which continually kind of puts everyone else ahead of me. It's like eventually I'll get to me, right?
Yeah.
And get to what I need. But right now I need to do that. And I think I am learning that I can still be helpful, but I don't have to be on call all the time.
The vigilance.
Yeah. Because I think that's a mode that my nervous system stayed in. It's like constantly surveying, like, and staying on high alert.
Great example. Such a great example of how we work with our inner child is that she can still be helpful.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a beautiful quality. But when the vigilance comes in and you have to constantly scan everything and make sure everyone in the room is okay, that's the dysfunctional piece of this.
Right.
And so I love that you can now begin to split that out. Like, I will still be helpful, but I don't have to be helpful to every single person here.
Right. And it doesn't have to be immediate. I think that's the other thing for me. Sometimes I'm like, it's just easier to get this done, change that appointment, fix it. Or I can say, no, I know I had planned to do these things. I will get to it when I get to it. So it's also that sense of urgency as a caretaker sometimes of immediately responding. And so that's continual work for me. But yeah, I definitely see that pattern.
It's beautiful. Well, we thought that it might be interesting to do a little bit of an inner exercise to give our listeners a chance to maybe identify or learn a little bit more about their inner child.
Maybe Chanel wants to do this too.
Again, the goal is we want to reparent ourselves, but we first have to know, like, what are we dealing with? What's our inner child? What do they need? What are they lacking? How are they still scared or stuck?
Right.
We were laughing before we started this episode because We did an episode a long time ago on hypnosis, and we were laughing that Kate literally laid on the
Right?
couch, and I hypnotized her air.
Early days.
Those were our early days, but Kate was like, "Do I have to lay down on the couch again?" No. But, and it will be this isn't hypnosis necessarily, but I would say if you're listening to this while you're driving, don't close your eyes. But we're just gonna do a little curiosity about, your inner child and what part of you wants to be seen today. Does that
Okay.
sound good? Do you have any
Yes.
questions before
Any
we start,
questions,
Kate?
Chanel?
Our producer Chanel's like, "Oh, geez, what am I getting myself into here?" All right. So, wherever you are, if you are in a place where you can close your eyes, we're just going to close our eyes and go in. I guess the thing for all of us to acknowledge and remember that our inner child wants one thing, and that is just to be loved and to be comforted and seen. So that's all we're going to do today is see if there is a part of our inner child that we can make some contact with. So it's always most useful before we start to work with imagery and connecting to a deeper part of ourselves to just see if we can drop down into our body first. So helpful to see if you can just let the body relax. Sometimes we're clenched in our jaw or our buttocks or our legs, and just allow the body to start to settle and relax. Maybe even feeling your feet on the earth beneath you. Once you start to be more present in your body, just take a couple nice deep breaths. Let your attention move into the breath, breathe into the belly. And as you exhale, feel yourself start to settle, start to maybe even sink into the chair or the seat where you're resting. Set the intention that you'd like to begin to connect with your inner child and allow an image to start to come forward. Just an impression. It might be an old photograph that you recall, it might be like a snapshot of you at a younger stage in life. And what we're doing here is we're just observing. So it's like you're the neutral observer, just seeing which image comes forward, what age you are, what you're wearing, what activity you're involved in. Maybe noticing if you're by yourself or you're with other people. But really let that image or that scene come alive for you. And what do you think of this kid? Like, what is he or she doing? What kind of child is this? What emotions is this child experiencing? Is she sad? Is she loud? Is she joyful? Is she all of the above? And as you're sort of observing this child from a neutral vantage point, what do you think of her? How do you feel observing this child? Do you feel like this is a sweet reunion? Are you yourself sad to see what she was going through? And then as you continue to observe this child, and you can continue to watch her from afar, or you could even move a little closer to her, hold her in your lap, play with her, hold her hand. But do you have a sense of what this child needs or wants? What is it that this little one needs the most right now? Is there something they need you to know? And above all, if you're interacting with this inner child, just be so compassionate and nurturing. I appreciate you. I love you. I see you. Proud of you. I hear you. I'm sorry for what you're going through. It's giving this child a voice, being a listener, and letting them know you're there, you're present for them. And then let this inner child know or ask them even, is it okay if I come visit you again? Is it okay if I come hold you or play with you again? Let them know you'll be back around. That's a really key piece of this type of work is that once we make contact with our inner child, it's not just one and done. It's like, hey, I see you and I want to continue to be here for you and nurture you and get to know you. So I'm going to come back around again. Maybe letting this inner child know you love them. It was good to see them today. And then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Mm.
All right. Give Kate a little bit of time to settle. How was that for you?
It was actually kind of easy to find her, I guess, I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably because 'cause we've been talking
Yeah.
this hour, but yeah, it was,
What was she like? What did she want you to know?
um well, my image that came up, and I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast, but I played Gretel in the high school play when I was in 2nd grade.
And Sound of Music.
Yeah, in 2nd grade.
Wow.
Now, I'm pretty sure I didn't say I'd like to audition
Yeah.
for this part.
Right.
So that got chosen for me, and it was the first time because I was thinking about kind of how free I kind of was as a young child, and then how school kind of really things started to shift in me and so it was probably the first time that I was started performing for people
Ah,
and
you
how that
got
kind of
feedback for your good
yes,
performance.
and how that then carried through so much of
Mm,
my life. And so just kind of yeah, being with her at that age saying, how do you feel about this? Is
yeah.
this really what you wanted?
Empathy.
And I was with all these older kids. I remember, they were all very nice to me, but I was totally out of my element and, you know, at these practices with all these older kids. And so I also always gravitated toward older kids and being older and acting older. And so
Yeah.
it started pretty young. And while it was probably on some level a really good experience, um, I think it really did shape kind of my
Mm,
the way that I uh, said yes to things and did things to perform for other people.
wow. And what I'm hearing is that there's also a part of that little girl that maybe didn't really want to be there,
Yeah.
that she would have rather have been
Playing.
plain and free. And
Yeah.
instead, she was doing something that was a performance
Yeah.
that maybe the adults chose for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah.
And isn't it interesting that when we do this work, sometimes parts come forward that we wouldn't expect. Like, did you expect to
No,
see her when you went in
I did
today?
not expect to see her at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But it was just boom, it was right there.
Yeah.
Like, I could see it. I could see the stage. I could see the other people in the play and, um, the conversations and kind of how they took care of me. Like, how crazy it felt to be in that setting, you know? So, at such a young age.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What does that little girl need that now you realize as a wise older adult, you can give that to her now? What
Yeah,
does she need to hear or know?
I think that, um, it's okay to say no if you don't wanna do something, and that you get to choose now what you say, you know, you get to
Yeah,
choose,
you get to choose.
and that you're not performing for anyone else. This is like this part of life is for you.
Yeah,
Like, you get to decide what
yeah,
experiences you want, what feels right for you, and it's not about anybody else at this point.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that share.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
Thanks for
And
the
it brings up one final point that I think is really great is that when we start to work with our inner child, one of the ways we know our inner child is healing is when our inner child feels freedom to go play,
mm,
right?
really,
Yeah. So
to
when
be a
we,
kid.
yeah, when we start to see our inner child sort of unhook from these roles and just choose to like go do their thing and play and be free and run, it's often a real sign that that inner child is starting to heal because that's what children are supposed to do is play. They're not
Right.
supposed to be adults. They're not supposed to be caregivers. They're not supposed to be achievers. They're supposed to just be kids. And so when we
Right.
start to see in these sort of exercises our inner child go be free and do whatever they want play wise, it's often a sign that
Hmm,
there's some healing happening.
love that.
Yeah. Well, what a day.
This was
Yeah.
really a great
We're going to put a bunch of
episode.
resources in our show notes. And I also did a Wisdom Wednesday on this over a year ago. So we'll make sure we link to that as well and put some good book ideas in there for those of you who want to explore a little bit more of your inner child.
This was a great one. Thanks, Betsy.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Come back and rewild with us again next week.